Hi, welcome to String Theory with Anthony Douglas. I'm your host, Anthony Douglas, and at any rate, I'm having to do this project between gigs. So, changing the strings, taking the old ones off, cleaning the guitar. In just a little while, I have another show over at Barlean's dinner theater to do. Barlean's dinner show. At any rate, so before I leave here, I wanted to at least get some things done here as far as cleaning the four-neck Fender Stringmaster Quad. And some of these guitars were known as champions in the earlier I think the 47 models, and some were known as the professional. I don't know. You guys will have to check online to see exactly. But I know this one, they refer to it a lot as the four-neck quad Stringmaster. And this is a 1953. So if you were touring around the world with Hank Williams Sr., you would have needed one of these bad boys. And it would have come in quite handy with four necks because you could have multiple tunings as you were playing with an act like Hank Williams or maybe Lefty Frizzell, which was another competitor, or Ernest Tubb or somebody. So, yeah, this is quite the thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little furniture polish here. And, I don't know, some people might say that's the wrong thing to use, but I don't know. I've been using this stuff for a long time, and it seems to do pretty well. Just get this, and while we're doing all this, we'll do some, some reflecting maybe on my stuff, or maybe some romanticizing with Hank Williams' band. Maybe a little of everything. I think what we were talking about last time we were, indulging in this here project was my dad, and some of the things that he had brought to the table, and being very supportive and that type of thing. So, and that's really what really helped me musically, was to have that support back there now. And we're looking back, I guess, at in the earlier part of the 80s, when I was doing a lot of working with multiple bands in the area. So I wasn't just a member of one band. When I first started in about 81, I was a member of a band called Wild Country that was in the Pacific Northwest at the time. And they did a variety of country music, stuff from the 20s up to the modern 80s at the time. So we were doing just about everything, and there was a guitar player in the band that I really took a liking to because he played extremely well. And so I noticed him playing, I believe he was on a 1953 Fender Telecaster. And so I was working with him, and the leader of the band kind of was what helped get me in with multiple bands around the area to begin with. So I had a lot of support from him too, and that group. And so then that particular guitar player, his name was Doyle, and we started a band together also called Timberline, and I worked with him, and he gave me some guitar lessons, and along with other people that were giving me guitar lessons at the time. And then I worked with another group at the same time called Touch of Class. And he wanted to name the band the Royal Flush, and I said, no. I mean, as a 13-year-old, I know not to name your band something like that, but he really wanted, he goes, you got to go out and get these cards shirts, and they had like a Royal Flush fan with these shirts. And so I wanted the white one. I could either have white or black. He didn't care. So I chose the white one. It was a Kingston shirt. And, I walk up to him and I say, hey, Roger, look, I've got my Royal Flush shirt. I says, when are you going to name the band Royal Flush? And this was weeks later. And he said, I thought about it, and I'm not going to do that. So apparently somebody must have talked to him about that name, and told him that might have not been the appropriate name, but many times they would show up drunk on the gig, so I would, have to learn how to deal with that, adults on the stage drunk, and kind of just work my way around it or play around it. And I think it kind of taught me to perhaps learn how to improvise, or if a situation's getting weird or going sideways on you from people that are doing interesting things, or indulging in interesting activities, how to keep the show going. And throughout my life, I've really had a lot of that, where the curtain has just fallen like you cannot believe. And I've had to work around that and still be able to make nice performances for the people that I'm working for. So that's important, and I learned that early on, how to do that. And I think I was in that band for at least, I don't know, 3-4 years, somewhere in there. So we were there quite a bit doing, before I moved to California. And so I was, I was working quite a bit with them, and gigging around. So I was very lucky to have multiple bands, that I was working with. And then there was Don Crawford. I think his band was called the Country Misfits, if I'm not mistaken. But Don took a lot of time in helping groom me, and I'd go and he would let me, if I didn't, if I finished up a gig quick or something, I could go over to the bunkhouse in Renton and sit in with that group. And they would put me in a pool room. I mean, it was cyclone fence around it. I remember that. They had some other pool rooms upstairs of the bunkhouse, which looked like a late 1800s style bordello, maybe a house of prostitution, something like that. That was probably in there in the earlier days, that they converted into, a back room pool thing. I guess no matter what you're doing it might not be quite on the up and up, but whatever they were doing, they were having fun. So I could sit in either the rooms upstairs or the one downstairs, and be able to just be able to wait for them to call me up on stage. And a lot of times Don would come back, and he was a great guy and liked a lot of the stuff that I liked, a lot of the old time Ernest Tubb, Hank Thompson, Hank Williams style music. He had a drummer that really knew how to do the subdivided shuffle, which really became something that I enjoyed working around, and all of that. So that's kind of how we got started doing that. So we'd finish up these shows, and then we'd go over, we'd sit in with Don, and they'd pass the hat after I got done. Usually there was a huge round of applause, and then we'd get people would pass my Stetson hat, and I wind up getting a lot of tips, probably make $50 in tips and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun at that time, working around like that. I had a booking agent that I would wound up acquiring too. His name was Frank Arnett. We'll be talking about him in other videos, and our relationship and how things were. And then I also had another booking agent, Van Barker. He booked Hank Thompson, booked me on a show with him. We'll be talking about that too. And worked doing a lot of, so if I wasn't able to get into a gig or something like that, I could always call one of my booking agents and say, hey, I got a weekend open, or I got a weekdays open, and then they'd throw me on a gig. So at any rate, I'm going to try to see what I can do with this down here that as I am cleaning here, I'm noticing a little bit of dust. So we'll see what we can do to clean it up just a little bit. Around and see what we can do with this. Yeah, this is good stuff. It'll work. And I did a lot of animal lodges at that time, so I was able to do my share of let's just say do like a lot of Eagles lodges, you might say. Do some other lodges that were going great guns back then in the areas. Eagles, Elks, Moose Lodge. There was VFWs quite a bit that we seemed to like doing a lot of. And Moose, one time we were at a Moose Lodge, and I'll never forget, they had a ceremony that they would do, and they would say, suffer the little children who come unto me, what Jesus said and all this stuff. And I remember my dad saying, yes, suffer the little children who come unto me, not suffocate the little children until they come unto me. And so I remember doing, a lot of those Moose lodges, and sometimes they'd have steel guitar things in there, like get-togethers or meetings or conventions. If you wanted to go and do something like that, you could definitely do that. And those were great times. Um, and then Timberline, when I was working with them, Doyle, he had a great voice, so he did a lot of Marty Robbins stuff, a lot of Elvis stuff. So there I was, kind of switching between rock and roll and country now, because I'd already done the classical music, and now I'm switching styles again. I'm going from country to rock, and so we play a rock tune, we play a country tune. He played Johnny Be Good, and all of a sudden You're Cheating Heart, stuff like that. So we do some boogie music, we do some crying music, we do some working man music, and everything like that. And so these were good, fun times, and they're still fun times. And I'm just about ready to go right now and jump in the car, go over to Barlean's, and have a great time over there. So it looks like we've got this steel guitar pretty clean now, and it's just about ready to put strings back on it. So we've got to now figure out which tunings I'm going to use and which gauge of strings that I need for this bad boy. All right, I'll see you in the other video. And if you like what you see, if you're having a good time out here, you enjoy these things, and hit the like and subscribe button, and this helps the channel. All right, thank you.